The Ogham, birth of the living script. Gather close, seeker. The wind still carries the whispers of an older tongue, the speech of trees. Long before ink met parchment, before men carved runes in stone, the druids watched the woods and learned that every branch, every leaf, had a rhythm of its own. They say the Ogham came to humankind in a time of silence, when knowledge was kept only by memory and song. Some claim it was Ogma, the honey-tongued champion of the ᚠᚢᚦᚨ Danann, who shaped the first marks upon birch bark. Others whisper it was Odin, hanging 9 nights on the world tree, who glimpsed the same secret and brought the staves into the north wind. Whatever the truth, both tales agree. Letters were not invented, they were found, and what they found were trees that speak. Beith, the Birch of Beginnings. When the world was still rimmed with ice, the first to wake was Birch. She rose pale and slender from the frost, her bark shining like the moon's skin. No other tree dared grow where she stood, but she bent in the cold wind and whispered, "Life will return." So it did. Her roots broke the frozen ground, and the meltwater followed her veins. Birds built nests in her arms, and soon the world breathed again. That is why Beith is the first of the Ogham, the stave of cleansing and new beginnings. To speak her name is to sweep the ashes from an old hearth and strike the flint anew. In divination, Beith asks, "What must you release so that life can begin again?" She does not promise comfort, only renewal. When the white birch stands before you in dream or omen, she invites you to let go of winter inside your soul. Her gift is the courage to begin once more. Luis, the rowan of protection and vision, the second of the Ogham. The fire crackles softly, and the birch embers fade to a pale silver glow. Outside, the forest deepens into a red dusk, and among the dark pines something gleams. Clusters of scarlet berries, bright as drops of blood. This is Rowan, Luis, the watcher at the threshold. They say she grew first from a single berry dropped by a star, and that her roots drank from the same spring where the gods once looked for wisdom. In the old tales, the rowan tree stood as a guardian between the seen and unseen. When the world was young, spirits wandered freely, drawn by human warmth and firelight. But some spirits carried malice or longing, and their touch could sour the heart. So the Great Mother planted rowan near every doorway, every path that led from hearth to hill, her red berries a warning, her leaves a blessing. To the Celts, rowan was the witch's tree, not of darkness but of sight. She saw what others could not. A rowan staff in a traveller's hand turned away ill will. A rowan cross above a cottage kept out the restless dead. It was said that Bridget herself wore a wreath of rowan when she walked unseen among mortals, guiding poets and healers through dreams. Meaning and reflection. Luis is foresight and protection, the clear eye in the storm. She guards the border between fear and faith, teaching us to look deeper before stepping forward. To draw her stave is to ask, what truth hides beneath this fear? What must I see to walk safely? Her whisper is never loud. She speaks through intuition, the sudden sense that someone watches kindly over you, the flicker of light when your path darkens. When Luis appears, trust your inner knowing. You already see more than you believe. Ritual thought. Carry a rowan berry or small charm carved with seek for protection on travels. Place a branch or a few leaves near your door when tension stirs at home. Meditate by candlelight on the red of her berries. See it as a spark of guidance within your chest. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Lady Rowan, flame among shadows, keeper of sight between worlds, open my eyes to truth, guard my heart from deceit, and light my way where fear would hide. Close quote. Fern, the older of endurance and guiding waters. The night deepens, the fire sighs low. You can almost hear the river outside, whispering over stones, silver and secret beneath the moon. That is where Fern the older takes root, where earth and water meet, neither one nor the other, yet both alive. They say, when the gods shaped the first man and woman of Ireland, they chose Alder for the man's body and Willow for the woman's, so that strength and flow might never be parted. From Alder came the pulse of courage, the kind that stands in water yet does not drown. The tale of Fern. Once long ago, a river god named Bran sought to cross into the mortal world, but the flood would not let him pass. He called to the trees, begging one to bear him. Oak was too proud, willow too soft, but alder bent its boughs and said, "I will carry you." So alder gave its trunk to the waters and became the bridge between worlds. That is why its wood never rots underwater, and why it is used to craft shields, flutes, and bridges, things that must endure both strength and song. Warriors once carried alder shields, dyed red from the sap, believing it to be blood already given, a pact of bravery and sacrifice. Yet the same tree made pipes for the bards, hollow voices that carried music like flowing speech. Alder, then, is both warrior and poet, protector and guide through the current. Meaning and reflection. Fearn teaches steadfastness and service, the courage to stand strong where others drift away. He reminds us that power is not stubbornness, but rooted adaptability. When life floods or shifts beneath your feet, remember, the alder holds the bank together. To draw his stave is to ask, where am I being called to stand firm, and where must I learn to bend? He brings guidance, endurance, and the quiet strength of those who work unseen for the good of all. Ritual thought. Place an alder cone or leaf by your mirror when you need courage to speak truth. Walk by rivers or lakes to listen. The alder's wisdom travels best over moving water. Whisper intentions into the current. Let it carry what you no longer need. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Alder of the banks and bridges, red-blooded heart beneath the stream, lend me your calm where tempests rise, and teach me to stand and to serve and to sing. Close quote. Say, the willow of moonlight and dreams, the fourth of the Ogham. The river widens now, and the night softens. The fire's glow fades into silver, and a mist begins to rise. Through it you see her, the willow, say, her long hair trailing in the water, her voice like the hush of the tide. She is the dream mother, keeper of tears and visions. When the first poets came into the world, it was said they drank from her reflection. The bards called her Say and Gaela, willow of the moon, for she bows only to the silver light and whispers to those who walk between waking and sleep. The tale of Say. In the old days, a maiden of the Tuatha De Danann fell in love with a mortal harpist. But when he died, her grief overflowed the lakes and drowned the valley. From her sorrow grew the first willow, its roots drinking her tears, its branches bending to comfort the lost. Ever since, Sai has been the tree of mourning and magic, but also of resilience, for though her branches bend, they never break. She teaches the art of surrender, to flow, to feel, to trust the current rather than fight it. In her shade, the veil thins, dreams walk, ancestors speak, and intuition deepens like the night sky reflected in water. Meaning and reflection, Sai is the voice of the moon, fluid, emotional, intuitive. She calls you to listen to what you feel, not only to what you know. Her gift is adaptability and depth. When the willow appears, she asks, "What are you holding that needs to be released into the river of dreams?" Her answer is never sharp. It ripples gently, guiding you to the truth beneath your own reflection. Sai reminds us it is in yielding that strength is born. Ritual thought. Sit by water during the waxing moon. Let your reflection blur and meditate on what must be released. Keep a strand or charm of willow bark beneath your pillow to encourage prophetic dreams. Burn dried willow twigs in gentle smoke rituals to soothe emotional unrest. Spoken invocation, open quote, willow of the water's edge, silver hair beneath the moon, bend with me through grief and dream and teach my heart to flow and heal. Close quote. Nuin, the ash of connection and balance, the fifth of the Ogham. Dawn glows faintly beyond the river mist. The first light touches the branches, and among them stands a tall, straight tree, its crown reaching the sky, its roots sinking deep into unseen waters. This is Ash Nuin, the bridge between worlds. If birch was the beginning and willow the dream, then ash is the thread that binds them both, trunk of the cosmos, spine of the druid, axis of all realms. The Norse called it Yggdrasil, the world tree. To the Celts it was the pillar that holds the heavens and the earth in equal embrace. The tale of Nuin. It is said that when the gods first shaped the world, they planted 3 sacred trees to keep the balance: oak for strength, birch for renewal, and ash for connection. But when storms tore the sky and floods swallowed the valleys, it was Ash who stretched himself across the chaos to keep both realms apart. From his wood were made oars and spears, not of war but of movement. For wherever one must travel, by river, road, or spirit, ash gives direction. His grain runs straight and true, symbol of alignment between thought and action, heaven and earth. The druids carved the staff of judgment from ash, believing its spirit kept words honest. In his branches ravens gathered to watch the world's turn. In his roots, serpents whispered of what lay below. Thus Nuin became the axis of understanding, the place where opposites meet without conflict. Meaning and reflection, Nuin speaks of balance, communication, and integrity. He asks you to align your words with your heart, your vision with your deed. To draw his stave is to ask, am I walking the path I speak of? Ash stands between worlds, so he also reminds us that all connections, even divine ones, require both grounding and breath. When you feel divided or uncertain, Nuin steadies you, showing that harmony isn't found by choosing one side, but by standing tall between them. Ritual thought. Carry a small piece of ash wood when you need clarity between your thoughts and your actions. Meditate under tall trees, visualizing roots reaching downward and branches stretching skyward in equal measure. Draw the stave when seeking to connect with guides, ancestors, or higher realms. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Ash of sky and soil, bridge of spirit and man, lend me your stillness in storm, your strength between opposites. Let my words root and my roots reach heaven. Close quote. Wath, the hawthorn of challenge and transformation, the sixth of the Ogham. The day has brightened, yet a chill lingers in the wind. You follow the forest path uphill until it narrows, brambled with white thorns and red berries that gleam like embers. No bird sings here, even the air feels watchful. This is hawthorn, Wath, the keeper of boundaries, a tree of beauty and peril, of passion and restraint. To pass her hedge is to cross from the mortal into the fairy realm. In the green days of old, when the Tuatha De Danann still walked among us, there stood a single hawthorn upon a hill between Twint. It was said that a fairy queen rested beneath its boughs each midsummer, and that those who touched its blossoms without permission vanished into mist. Yet one mortal, a young healer, sought her counsel. He came bearing honey and music, gifts of respect. The queen appeared, wreathed in white petals and thorns, and offered him two choices. Drink of my cup and forget all pain, or keep your pain and learn its power. He chose the latter, and from that moment his healing touch grew strong enough to draw sickness from others, for he had faced pain and found its purpose. And the queen said, so shall it be for all who endure trial with an open heart. That is why hawthorn stands at crossroads and gates, teaching that no true growth comes without friction. Meaning and reflection. Huathe is transformation through challenge, the thorn that protects the blossom. She guards sacred spaces and teaches that discomfort is a teacher, not an enemy. When her stave 10 appears, she asks, what lesson hides in your pain? What threshold awaits beyond it? Her gift is resilience with grace. She teaches discernment, when to open, when to guard, and how to bloom again after wounding. Ritual thought. Gather fallen hawthorn blossoms never cut and dry them for protection sachets. Stand before a thorned bush at dawn or dusk and breathe deeply. Envision releasing bitterness into the wind. Keep a small thorn in your charm bag to remind you that strength often grows from trials faced with love. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Huathe of the thorn and bloom, guardian of the hidden gate, teach me the wisdom of the wound, the beauty that follows pain. Let my heart be brave enough to open, though guarded by your crown. Close quote. Duir, the oak of power and endurance, the seventh of the Ogham. The forest grows dense now, and the air smells of resin and sun-warmed bark. You walk between mighty trunks until one tower dominates all, broad, ancient, and unwavering. This is Duir, the oak, king of the grove, the stalwart pillar of strength. It is said that when the first lightning struck the earth, it feared nothing but the oak. The gods themselves would gather beneath its branches, for in its shade lay endurance, wisdom, and the pulse of life itself. The tale of Duir. Long ago, when the world was young, a warrior king sought a tree that could shelter his people from storms and provide counsel in times of war. He planted his spear into the earth at the heart of the forest, and from its tip grew the first great oak. the branches stretched wide, carrying the whispers of ancestors and the promise of seasons to come. Odin himself, in some tellings, would sit upon the oak's highest limb to witness the threads of fate below. The druids carved their staves from fallen oak, believing the tree's spirit would grant courage, endurance, and clarity. No trial was too great for those who carried its bark, no shadow too dark. Meaning and reflection. Duir is power rooted in patience. He teaches that true strength is steady, silent, and enduring, not loud or boastful. When the oak appears in your path, he asks, "Where must I stand tall? Where must I remain steadfast, even as the storms pass?" His lesson is endurance, responsibility, and the quiet majesty of growth over time. Ritual thought. Use oak twigs or acorns in rituals for courage, decision-making, or grounding. Sit beneath an oak in meditation to connect with ancestral wisdom. Carve time into a wand or staff to draw endurance and clarity into your work. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Duir, steadfast sentinel of the grove, teach me the strength of patience, the courage of roots sunk deep, and the calm of enduring all storms. Let my heart stand tall as you do, unshaken through the passing seasons. Close quote. Tin, the holly of willpower and protection. The wind sharpens as you climb higher and the forest begins to thin. Among the brambles and bare trunks stands a solitary tree with dark green leaves edged in sharp points, crowned with scarlet berries that seem to burn even in shadow. This is Tin, the holly. Fierce, protective, and resolute. Holly is the tree of boundaries and courage. She guards the edges of villages, the thresholds of homes, and the hearts of those who walk the warrior's path. Her leaves pierce, her berries shine, and her wood was once forged into spears that never broke in battle. The Tale of Tinne. Long ago, when warring clans roamed the lowlands, a young chieftain prayed for protection against those who would ambush his people. That very night, a radiant holly grew along the hilltop, its branches forming a natural fort. Its presence held off enemies and guided travellers safely through the dark. It is said that Celtic druids used holly in winter rites to protect the household from malevolent spirits. The holly's sharp leaves reminded humans to be vigilant, and its evergreen nature promised resilience through the harshest seasons. In some myths, Tin was also linked to the warrior goddess Morrigan, lending courage and clarity before battle. Meaning and reflection. Tin teaches willpower, protection, and discernment. She asks, "Where must I defend my boundaries? Where do I need courage to stand firm?" Her lesson is to be strong yet aware, to guard without becoming rigid, and to act with integrity when challenges arise. Ritual thought. Place holly branches at doorways or windows during winter to protect home and hearth. Carry a small holly leaf in your charm bag to strengthen willpower or during important decisions. Burn holly wood carefully in purification fires to cleanse and shield sacred space. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Tin, sharp and steadfast, sentinel of thresholds and hearts, lend me your courage to guard what is sacred, and the wisdom to know when to strike and when to stand. Let my will be firm as your thorned leaves. Close quote. Coal, the hazel of wisdom and inspiration. The forest softens now, the air scented with damp earth and the sweetness of nuts. You arrive at a grove where slender trees bend lightly with the wind, their leaves golden and bronze, and clusters of round nuts hang like tiny lanterns. This is Cole, the hazel, the tree of insight, poetry, and inspiration. Hazel is said to be the teacher of the mind, the wellspring of knowledge, and the guardian of hidden truths. In the whispers of old lore, she stands beside rivers, where the salmon of wisdom swims beneath her roots. Whoever eats the nut from Hazel's bar gains a spark of insight, the fire of genius, or the clarity to see beyond the veil. The Tale of Cole. Long ago, the first poet of Ireland wandered lost, seeking words that could sing the world into memory. He came to a hazel grove beside a silver river and whispered his longing to the trees. Suddenly, a salmon leapt from the water and plucked a nut from the lowest branch. The poet cracked it open, and a vision of stars, rivers, and the paths of humans and gods alike filled his mind. He spoke, he sang, he wove history and magic into words, and the hazel became a tree sacred to all who seek wisdom. The druids would hang hazel wands above their altars or carve Ogham staves into the bark, calling upon her guidance in judgment, teaching, and prophecy. Meaning and reflection. Cole is inspiration, wisdom, and insight. She asks, where do I need clarity? Where is knowledge hiding that I may reach it? Her lesson is to seek and receive, to honor the mind as a vessel of creativity and understanding. When Cole appears, she offers visions, not always easy to interpret, but always guiding toward truth.
Ritual thought.
Keep a hazel nut or twig near your writing desk or study area to invoke insight. Walk among hazel groves in quiet contemplation, listening for the current of ideas and inspiration. Meditate on the shape of her nuts or leaves to unlock problem-solving or poetic vision. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Cole, keeper of the flowing mind, guardian of insight and hidden streams, pour your wisdom into me, guide my thoughts to clarity, and let inspiration bloom like nuts upon your branches. Close quote. Quirt, the apple of love and healing. The forest opens into a sun-dappled orchard, fragrant with blossoms that shimmer like morning dew. Amid the gentle hum of bees and the whisper of leaves stands Quirt, the apple tree, radiant, sweet, and full of promise. She is the tree of love, healing, and connection, whose fruit holds the power to mend the heart and awaken desire. Apples are said to be gifts from the other world, bridges between mortals and the fae. In Celtic lore, the Isle of Apples shone beyond the mist, where heroes and poets sought healing, joy, and immortality. To touch the bark of Quirt is to touch the pulse of the heart itself. The tale of Quirt. Long ago, a young healer wandered through a valley struck by illness and sorrow. Exhausted, she rested beneath an apple tree, its branches heavy with golden fruit. When she ate, warmth flooded her body, and she dreamed of secret springs flowing with healing water. Awakened, she found her hands could soothe pain and mend wounds, teaching her the secret. Love and care are the truest medicine, and the heart is the source of all healing. Apple trees became sacred to both lovers and healers, their blossoms worn in hair or placed on altars. In some stories, the goddess Yew herself offered apples to those who sought courage and insight, reminding mortals that love is both gift and responsibility. Meaning and reflection. Quirt is love, healing, and connection. She asks, where do I need to open my heart? Where can love or compassion heal the world within or around me? Her lesson is gentle. Growth comes from care, and sweetness is found in giving as well as receiving. When the apple appears, it invites reflection on relationships, self-love, and the tender acts that restore. Ritual thought. Keep a small apple or apple blossom on your altar to invite love, healing, or harmony. Meditate beneath an apple tree to connect with heart energy or divine inspiration. Use apple-scented oils or dried blossoms in rituals for love, compassion, or reconciliation. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Quirt, tree of blossoms and fruit, pour your sweetness into my heart. Teach me the medicine of love and the courage to give and receive. Let my spirit be healed by your blossoms and my hands guided to bring comfort to others. Close quote. Mewin, the vine of prophecy and joy, the 11th of the Ogham. The forest opens into a sunlit glade, fragrant with the tang of ripening grapes and the sweet scent of fermented blossoms. Twisting along trellises and ancient stones grows Mewin, the vine, flexible, winding, and alive with energy. She is the tree of prophecy, insight, and celebration, a conduit between the earthly and the divine. Mewin reminds us that joy and vision are intertwined. When the first druids sought answers from the otherworld, they would follow the curves of the vine, tracing its spirals with their fingers as they whispered questions. The vine's twists and turns were a map of fate, each leaf and grape a symbol of hidden truths waiting to be revealed. The Tale of Moon. Long ago, a bard wandered lost after a great war, his mind clouded by grief and confusion. He came to a hill where vines climbed an abandoned temple, their fruits glimmering with dew. Touching the vine, he was shown visions of his future, moments of joy, triumph, and sorrow alike, yet all connected like the spirals of the branches. From that day he sang with clarity, weaving prophecy into his songs, and the vine became sacred to poets, seers, and celebrants of life's pleasures. The vine was also linked to the god of wine and inspiration, a symbol of both the intoxication of joy and the clarity of foresight. Meaning and reflection. Mewin is prophecy, joy, and connection. She asks, where can I find delight and insight in unexpected places? What paths twist toward wisdom if I follow them with attention? Her lesson is that life's spirals are guides, not obstacles, and that playfulness and celebration often bring the clearest visions. When Moon appears, she encourages flexibility, creativity, and an embrace of life's rhythms. Ritual thought. Keep a vine branch, grape or image of Moon on your altar for guidance or inspiration. Trace spirals with your fingers in meditation to connect with hidden paths and intuitive insight. Celebrate the cycles of life with music, dance, or fermented offerings to honor her energy. Open quote. Vine of joy and foresight, twist your wisdom into my veil the paths that bend unseen, and fill my spirit with celebration and clarity. Let my steps follow your spirals and my eyes see what the heart already knows. Close quote. Gort, the ivy of determination and perseverance.
The 12th of the Ogham.
The path wends into a shadowed glen where old walls are draped in thick green vines that cling to stone and bark alike. Among these grows Gort, the ivy, steadfast, enduring, and unyielding. She is the tree of perseverance, resilience, and quiet strength, teaching that even in darkness, life finds a way to climb. Ivy is the patient teacher. It reminds us that growth is not always swift or obvious, yet persistence bears fruit in time. In ancient forests, the ivy would cling to oak, ash, or hawthorn, drawing strength from its host while never losing its own roots. The tale of Gort. Once, in a time of famine and war, a young healer sought herbs and shelter. She wandered through a ruined grove where all seemed dead. Yet along a crumbled wall, ivy thrived, wrapping itself around the remnants of the past. Inspired, she harvested its leaves for medicine and learned that perseverance could flourish even in devastation. Gort became a symbol for those who endure trials quietly and rise again, intertwined with life, even when shadows dominate. Druids used ivy in protective spells, weaving it around homes and altars to safeguard life and encourage resilience. Meaning and reflection. Gort is determination, endurance, and adaptability. She asks, where must I cling and persevere? Where can I rise even in the ruins? Her lesson is patience and quiet strength, growth that bends but does not break. When Gort appears, she encourages you to hold fast to your goals, to support others while maintaining your own roots, and to trust the slow, persistent power of life. Ritual thought. Keep ivy leaves or a small sprig on your altar to strengthen resilience and patience. Weave ivy around protective charms or home entrances for stability and endurance. Meditate on a wall covered in ivy, visualizing yourself climbing steadily toward your purpose, despite obstacles. Spoken invocation, open quote. Gort, steadfast vine of perseverance, teach me the quiet strength to endure, the patience to rise where shadows fall, and the wisdom to intertwine with life without losing my own roots. Close quote. Tao, the reed of flexibility and opportunity. The 13th of the Ogham. The glen opens to a riverside, where the waters ripple silver in the wind. Along the banks, tall slender reeds bend and sway with every gust, never breaking, always flowing. This is Ngetal, the reed, the tree of adaptability, opportunity, and subtle strength. The reed teaches that true power is not always forceful. It survives by yielding, by moving with the current, and yet its presence is persistent and life-giving. Ancient storytellers said that reeds carried messages between worlds, whispering secrets in the breeze and the murmur of water. The tale of Ngetal. Long ago, a fisherman found himself trapped in a storm on a broad river. Panic gripped his heart and he called to the winds and waters for guidance. From the shallows, the reeds bent toward him, forming a path and calming the waves just enough for him to reach the shore safely. He learned that flexibility in the face of danger often brings more survival than stubborn resistance. Druids harvested reeds for wands, flutes, and writing tools, honoring their ability to carry messages, bend with life, and adapt without losing integrity. Meaning and reflection. Ngetal is adaptability, openness, and subtle guidance. She asks, where must I bend without breaking? Where can I turn opportunity into advantage? Her lesson is that surrendering to life's currents does not mean giving up, but moving with wisdom. When Ngetal appears, she reminds you to stay supple in body, mind, and spirit, ready to seize chance and follow paths that may twist unexpectedly. Ritual thought. Place reeds or reed images near water or on your altar to invite flexibility and clarity. Meditate by a river, tracing the bending of reeds with your breath. Use reeds in spell work or divination for messages, insights, or guidance through uncertain situations. Spoken invocation, open Getol, slender reed of wind and water, teach me to bend without breaking, to follow the currents of life with grace, and to see opportunity in every ripple. Let my spirit sway with wisdom, and my heart remain rooted as I move. Close quote. Strafe, the blackthorn of trials and transformation, the 14th of the Ogham. The river narrows, shadows deepen, and the wind sharpens with a biting chill. Amid gnarled trunks and twisted branches stands Strafe, the blackthorn, dark, thorned, and forbidding. She is the tree of challenge, transformation, and resilience, whose power is never gentle but always profound. Blackthorn grows where life demands courage, and her thorns warn. Nothing sacred comes without effort. In legend, she marks the threshold between comfort and growth, between the familiar world and the trials that shape destiny. The Tale of Strafe. Once a young warrior approached a grove of blackthorn, seeking strength to defend his village. The thorns tore at his cloak and flesh, yet he pressed forward. At the heart of the grove he discovered a hidden spring, clear and shimmering with life. Drinking from it, he felt his courage deepen, his resolve harden, and his mind sharpen. The druids revered Strafe for her lessons in discipline and endurance. They carved staves from fallen blackthorn to invoke protection, transformation, and the courage to face life's harsh truths. Strafe is the teacher that pain is not punishment, but passage. Her darkness reveals the light that only comes after trial, meaning and reflection. Strafe is challenge, resilience, and transformation. She asks, where must I face fear to grow? Where must I endure to be transformed? Her lesson is that strength is forged through struggle, and wisdom blooms in shadow. When Strafe appears, she encourages courage, perseverance, and the willingness to confront difficulty head-on. Carry a blackthorn twig or image when facing trials for courage and clarity. Meditate in a quiet, shadowed grove, imagining yourself moving through obstacles with Strafe's strength. Use her wood in protective rites or transformational rituals, honoring the necessity of challenge. Spoken invocation, open quote, Strafe, dark thorn of trials, teach me to endure, to transform my fear into courage, and to face the shadow with open eyes. Let my heart grow resilient and my spirit bloom through adversity. Close quote. Ruis, the elder of regeneration and release, the 15th of the Ogham. The forest grows quieter now, shadows softening as you enter a grove of ancient twisted trunks. Here stands Ruis the Elder, a tree of endings, beginnings, and quiet power. She is the tree of release, regeneration, and transformation, reminding us that letting go is as sacred as holding on. Elder grows at the edges of forests and fields, where old things decay to nourish new life. Her berries feed the birds, her hollow trunks shelter animals, and her leaves return to the soil as nourishment. In Celtic lore, Ruis was often planted near homes to protect and cleanse, a guardian of thresholds and cycles. Long ago, a woman mourning her lost child wandered into an elder grove. There she found a circle of trees, black trunks and silvered leaves, their fruits glistening in moonlight. As she touched the bark, she felt her grief flow into the trees. By morning, she had been granted peace and the wisdom that release creates space for new life and growth. Elder wood was used to craft charms for protection, purification, and rebirth. To carve Ruis into a staff was to honor cycles, to acknowledge that endings are sacred, and to prepare the heart for renewal. Meaning and reflection. Ruis is release, transformation, and regeneration. She asks, what must I let go of? What old patterns, thoughts, or fears no longer serve me? Her lesson is that renewal comes through surrender, and that life is a constant cycle of death and rebirth. When Ruis appears, she encourages cleansing, meditation on endings, and preparation for the next chapter. Ritual thought. Use elderberries or leaves in protection or cleansing rituals. Meditate beneath an elder tree to release burdens and invite renewal. Carve the Ogham stave into wood or charms to honor endings and transformations in your life. Spoken invocation, open quote, Ruis, ancient elder of endings and beginnings, teach me to release what no longer serves me and to welcome renewal with an open heart. Let my spirit flow like your leaves to the soil and rise renewed in the cycles of life. Close quote. Aelm, the fir of resilience and aspiration. The 16th of the Ogham, the air grows crisp and pine-scented as you climb higher into the mountains. Amid rocky slopes stands Aelm, the fir, tall, straight and evergreen, reaching for the sky with unwavering purpose. She is the tree of resilience, aspiration and steadfast growth, teaching strength through endurance and hope through the seasons. Fir trees survive harsh winds, heavy snows and rocky soils. Their evergreen needles remind us that even in winter, life persists and flourishes. To the ancient druids, Aelm was a symbol of spiritual aspiration, the drive to reach higher while remaining rooted. The tale of Aelm. A young apprentice once travelled to a mountaintop, seeking courage to face his fears and doubts. The path was steep, and snow covered the rocks, threatening to halt his journey. But he found Aelm standing tall, its branches laden with snow yet unbroken. He rested beneath it and felt a surge of determination. By observing the fir, he learned that resilience and patience enable even the smallest seed to reach the heavens. Aelm's wood was used for wands and staffs, especially by those seeking guidance in spiritual growth and endurance. She embodies hope, fortitude, and the quiet strength to reach for the sky, even when storms blow fiercely. Meaning and reflection. Aelm is resilience, aspiration, and spiritual growth. She asks, where must I remain steadfast? Where can I grow higher without losing my roots? Her lesson is to endure with patience, maintain integrity in adversity, and pursue your higher purpose. When Aelm appears, she encourages clarity of direction, inner strength, and a calm perseverance through challenges. Ritual thought. Meditate beneath an evergreen tree to connect with inner resilience and spiritual aspiration. Carry a small fir twig or needle bundle to strengthen patience and endurance. Carve the Ogham stave into wood guidance and steady growth in your spiritual or worldly endeavours. Spoken invocation, open quote. Aelm, fir of steadfast reach and strength, teach me to endure the storms, to rise with patience and aspiration, and to grow tall without losing my roots. Let my spirit reach the heavens, even as I remain grounded in the earth. Close quote. On, the ash of fertility and growth. As the snows melt and the land begins to stir, the path leads you down into a sunlit meadow. There, where the soil is soft and alive, stands On, the ash tree. Strong yet supple, its roots drinking deeply from the earth's pulse. She is the tree of fertility, growth and creative expansion, guiding the flow of life from seed to blossom, from dream to becoming. Ash connects heaven and earth. Her branches stretch to the sky while her roots twist deep into the dark soil. In her form, the ancients saw the bridge between realms, a living axis of balance, fertility, and creation. The tale of On. In the old tales, it is said that from the ash tree came the first man, Ask, while the first woman was born of the elm. The gods breathed life into his wooden frame, and from that breath came humankind. Thus, the ash became known as the tree of life, uniting the divine with the mortal and the visible with the unseen. Her seeds, carried by the wind, remind us that life and ideas alike must be released to grow. The ash also gave strength to spears and staffs, tools of both defense and destiny, marking her as a symbol of creation and purpose intertwined. Meaning and reflection. On is fertility, vitality, and creative expansion. She asks, where is life asking me to grow? What seed within me seeks to awaken and take root? Her lesson is that creation requires both grounding and openness, the courage to nurture beginnings and to let them unfold in their own rhythm. When On appears, she encourages new ventures, physical and creative vitality, and deep connection to the cycles of life. Ritual thought. Burn a few ash leaves or wood chips ethically gathered to invoke fertility and creative flow. Carve the Ogham stave into a talisman to bless projects or new beginnings. Work with ash in spring rites, planting intentions as seeds in the soil. Spoken invocation. Open quote, On sacred ash of life and growth, may your roots steady my heart and your branches lift my dreams. Guide me to nurture what is new and to let creation flow through me as freely as the wind through your leaves. Close quote. Or the heather of healing and transition. The 18th of the Ogham. The path winds through open moorland now, where wind hums low and the horizon stretches endlessly. The air smells of earth and sky. Here grows Or, the heather, small, humble, and unyieldingly beautiful. She paints the wild hills in purples and pinks, softening the harshness of the world. Or is the Ogham of healing, transition, and purification, guiding travellers through thresholds both seen and unseen. Heather was sacred to those who wandered. It grew where little else would, drinking from the thin soils of the highlands. In its quiet strength, the ancients saw the power of renewal, the gentle resilience of spirit that heals by endurance and grace. The tale of long ago, a wounded warrior collapsed upon a desolate moor. No tree shaded him, no water soothed his thirst, but the heather grew there, low to the earth, humming softly in the wind. He lay among her blossoms, and her scent eased his pain, her roots steadied his spirit. When dawn came, he rose renewed, leaving his sword behind, for Ur had taught him that healing requires surrender, not battle. Heather was used in ancient brews and poultices, in bedding and charms, for cleansing and peace. To carry a sprig was to invite calm through change, protection through passage,
Meaning and reflection. Or is healing?
purification and transition. She asks, what needs gentleness now? What must I release to allow true healing to begin? Her lesson is that transformation does not always come through fire. Sometimes it arrives as a whisper, a slow renewal of roots. When Ur appears, she offers restoration after struggle, clarity after confusion, and peace after endings. Ritual thought. Burn dried heather or use its flowers in a cleansing sachet to purify energy and aid emotional healing. Meditate upon heather-covered hills in your mind's eye to release pain and invite calm transition. Carve or draw the Ogham stave upon a smooth stone and place it near your rest space to invoke peaceful change. Spoken invocation. Open quote. O gentle heather of healing and wind, teach me the strength in softness, the renewal in rest, and the wisdom in letting go. Guide my steps through this passage of change and bring peace where once there was ache. Close quote. Edha, the aspen of courage and transformation, the 19th of the Ogham. The wind rises as you walk onward, whistling through slender trunks that shimmer like silver. Here stands Adha, the aspen, her leaves trembling ceaselessly, catching every breath of the unseen. She is the tree of courage, endurance, and transformation, reminding us that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the will to move despite it. The druids saw in her whispering leaves the voice of the spirit world. Her quivering canopy spoke of change, challenge, and the unseen powers that shape destiny. To stand among aspens was to stand between worlds, where strength is tested and the heart is refined through the winds of trial. The tale of Ioho. When the world was young, the gods gave each tree a gift. To oak they gave might, to birch renewal, to yew eternity. But to aspen they gave fear, and in that fear, the secret of true courage. For it is said that when the first storm came, all trees bent and broke, all but the trembling aspen, who shook and quivered but did not fall. She let the wind move through her, and thus survived what others resisted. From that day on, she became a symbol of the warrior's heart, the courage to endure, adapt, and transform. Meaning and reflection. Ida is courage, endurance, and transformation through challenge. She asks, what fear must I face with open eyes? What storm must I let move through me, not against me? Her lesson is surrender to change without losing your core, to trust that resilience is born not from rigidity, but from flow. When Ida appears, she invites you to stand tall through transition and to find calm within chaos. Ritual thought. Carry a piece of aspen bark or leaf as a charm for courage and adaptability. Write fears or challenges on paper, then release them to the wind, symbolizing trust in transformation. Carve the Ogham stave upon wood or stone to invoke bravery and spiritual fortitude. Spoken invocation. Open quote. Adha, trembling guardian of the wind, teach me the courage to move with the storm, to bend without breaking, and to find strength in surrender. May I face my fears with steady heart and be transformed by their passing. Close quote. Ioho, the yew of death and rebirth, the 20th of the Ogham. You have reached the edge of the mortal forest now. The air stills. Before you stands Ioho, the yew, dark, ancient, eternal. Her branches twist in solemn beauty, roots deep in shadow, yet her needles gleam with evergreen life. She is the tree of death, immortality, and rebirth, the final guardian of the Ogham Grove, where endings merge into beginnings once more. The yew was sacred beyond measure to the Celts. She grew in graveyards and temples, her age surpassing that of stones. To them, Ioho was not only the symbol of death, but of the eternal soul, that which endures, transforms, and returns. Her wood, smooth and fine-grained, was used for longbows and ritual carvings, but to fell a yew was to invite misfortune, for she was thought to house spirits and ancestors. She teaches that death is not an end, but a passage, a return to the seed of all being. The tale of Ioho. In the time before time, the first druid asked the gods to show him the mystery of life and death. They led him to a solitary yew in a silent valley. There he watched her shed needles and grow anew. He saw her inner trunk decay, yet from that hollow sprang fresh green shoots. And he understood, life and death are but two breaths of the same wind. It is said the druids carved their sacred staffs from fallen yew wood, never from living trees, and that in its hollow heart the voices of ancestors whispered guidance, meaning and reflection. Ioho is death, rebirth, and the eternal cycle. She asks, what must end for renewal to begin? What truth endures even through loss? Her lesson is the embrace of transformation, that all things decay only to be reborn in new form. Through her we learn that endings are not destruction, but the soil of future life. When Ioho appears, she speaks of closure, acceptance, and transcendence, the wisdom of the soul that endures beyond all form. Ritual thought. Sit beneath a yew tree or meditate in her memory to commune with ancestral guidance. Burn a small piece of fallen yew, never harvested, as an offering to transformation and renewal. Carve or draw the Ogham stave to honour life's eternal cycle and protection in transition. Spoken invocation, open quote, Ioho, ancient yew of shadow and flame, guardian of endings and keep of beginnings, teach me the peace within death and the courage to be reborn. Let my roots entwine with yours in the silence where all life turns eternal.
Close quote.
Depiction for Gemini. Create an illustration of Ioho, the yew, a vast ancient yew tree in twilight, its trunk hollow yet glowing from within. The Ogham stave carved upon a fallen branch or gleaming in the bark. Mist swirling around its roots, where faint ghostly forms of ancestors or spirits gather. Mood. Sacred, timeless, sombre yet luminous, the convergence of death and life reborn. You have now walked the full Ogham grove from Beith to Ioho, the journey of creation, growth, trial and transcendence. The Grove Eternal, epilogue of the Ogham. The forest quiets once more. You have walked its full circle through light and shadow, birth and decay, whispers of leaf and wind. From Beith, the silver birch of beginnings, to Ioho, the dark yew of eternity, you have touched the very breath of the old language, the living soul of the trees. Each Ogham mark, each line etched into bark or memory is a doorway. Together they form a grove beyond time, 20 sacred pillars of understanding through which the druids once read the will of earth and sky. These were not merely symbols to them, but living presences, teachers, healers, guardians. When you trace their staves, you do not simply recall letters. You awaken the spirits of the forest, the wisdom of patience, the song of endurance, the rhythm of transformation. The circle complete. In the beginning, Beith taught renewal. Luis followed with protection and warning. Through Nion and Fern, balance and purification took form. Then came the trees of strength. Duir, Tinner, Coal, each showing that might's not from force, but from rooted purpose. The middle of the grove, from Muin through Ur, revealed the subtler paths, inspiration, truth, release, healing. And finally, Edha and Ioho led you to the edge of mystery. Courage and surrender, life's deathless turning. So it is and always shall be. The Ogham is not read but lived. Each season, each trial, each renewal brings you back to its cycle, and the trees whisper again. The Druid's reflection, open quote, as the seed becomes the tree and the tree becomes the soil, so too does the spirit weave through endings into beginnings. All things are one grove beneath the same sky. Close quote. To understand the Ogham is to see yourself mirrored in the natural order. Every storm, every sprout, every fallen leaf holds meaning. The trees do not teach with words. They teach through time. Their stories are your own, spoken in green and shadow, breath and silence. Closing blessing. Open quote. Walk softly upon the earth, child of leaf and stone. The grove lives within you now. In every tree you meet, in every wind that stirs your soul, may the Ogham whisper your path. not as letters but as living song.